is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Men's back out with another review. And today we are starting a brand new review series. And we are going to be starting the review series for the Fear Street franchise. Will also be leading up to the newest film that will be releasing on Netflix on Friday, that of course being Fear Street Prom Queen, which I should be reviewing that the next day and then having a ranking for you on Sunday. But before we get into actual beginning of the video, let's guys, don't forget to subscribe to the new channel, because number one is absolutely free, number two also maybe I'll be too powerful and recommend it to more people, maybe they could join. Let's and do feel free to comment your thoughts on Fear Street 1994 down below. But with that being said, guys, let's go into and before we go into let's give a quick plot synopsis of the film, shall we? So transition and choose.
After a series of brutal slayings, a teen and her friends take on an evil force that's plagued their notorious town for centuries.
So, as for the Fear Street franchise, I was aware of them. They came out 2021, and I know they were, all split up into, different times of the year. So, you have one chapter come out 1 month, then the other chapter would come out a couple months later, then the final chapter would come out a couple months after that. But I knew they were around at that time, but I didn't have Netflix on my phone then, so I haven't seen them before until doing this review series. I cannot speak. And also, it's going into this one, I didn't know what I was expecting, really. I expected, cheesy little B-movie slashers that were probably going to be fun and reminiscent of, the old days of, 80s slashers and stuff like that. As well, I was a little excited, too, because they were actually based off R.L. Stine short stories. So, with that being said, let's get into the actual review of Fear Street 1994 Part 1. And starting off with the good here, we have the soundtrack. And I'll talk about this a little bit more later on, but I think as for the 90s aesthetic goes, the thing that this movie definitely did best is the soundtrack.
You definitely do get those 90s feels with the music that's playing. For example, Sour Times by Portishead's playing, then you also have Thursday by 99 Tales, and all of it actually reminds me of the 90s, so I'm glad it did that.
I also think the cast in here does pretty good. I will talk about this loosely later in my mixed section. The characters aren't that memorable, but the performances are decent from the actors in here. The only really actor, though, that I recognized in here was the one that played Chameleon and Kraven the Hunter, and then he was also in Hell of a Summer that came out a month ago this year. So, he is pretty much the only person I recognized, and he was a fun little character. Then, all the other actors did good as their roles, too. Another thing in here is that classic Goosebumps feel for the film. So, this is actually based off R.L. Stine's, I don't know if they're short stories or just stories. But, it does sort of have that Goosebumps sort of vibe going for it, with the old TV series and such. I totally dug about the movie, and I was kind of, I think that's the one that made this movie pop out the most, that I did thoroughly enjoy. Another thing in here, how it wraps up. And usually you hear me when there's part 1 movies out there, I usually get so annoyed with their endings. But as for this one, well, to be fair,
I am watching these while all 3 of them are on Netflix at the same time. So if I watched it while waiting for the next sequel to come out, I probably would be a little bit more annoyed. But honestly, where it left off, I think it ended where it needed to end. I thought it was stretched out to perfect length, I think.
Final good in here I have is the homages that it does to other sort of films in the horror genre. So, for example, the opening of the film, I think it was very reminiscent of... What is my hair doing? I didn't even realize that the whole entire time. Look at it. Anyway. Okay, anyways, moving on. But the opening of the film definitely... I can't, sorry. Okay. I'll keep it. I'll keep it there for content's sake. It looks ridiculous, so why not keep it there? I mean, it's not as up anymore. Well, there goes that. All right. Anyways, okay. Enough with the hair. All right. But the opening of the film is very reminiscent of Scream. And for those who do not know, I love the Scream franchise. And the first film is actually my second or third favorite movie of all time. It goes back and forth between Back to the Future. Probably now I would say it's third place. But because Back to the Future is amazing. But I still love that film. So that was like a nice little thing there. That definitely got my like horror brain going, oh, that kind of reminds me of Scream. Then you also have a bunch of other little things that happen later on in the film that remind me of some certain films. Like, this does also kind of remind me of Stranger Things at times, which ironically, it's on Netflix, so. But it did certainly remind me of that, and there's some aspects in it, too, where I feel, it kind of reminds me of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch a little tiny bit, too. So yeah, overall, really good. Now let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. The parts I'm 50-50 about. And the first one is the characters. The characters don't have anything stand out about them necessarily. Don't get me wrong.
You do certainly want to root for them and want them to live, but still, there's not enough characteristics about them to make you care even more, if that makes sense.
Which kind of brings me into my next mixed aspect I have in here is the kills. I think the kills early on in the movie, like the first 2/3 of the film, I felt were very run-of-the-mill, regular, just stabbings, like in the gut or in the throat, whatever. Just felt very reminiscent of other slasher movies that just have generic kills with this knife right to the gut, right to the throat. But when you get to the third act in the movie particularly, there's some kills that I thought were pretty well done. Especially one in particular. For those who have seen the film, you probably know what kill I'm talking about. That happens to one character in the final act that I thought was very, very gnarly, but also very, very awesome. So I did like that kill, to say the least. But pretty much all the other kills in here, I didn't really care for, to be honest. So, but that one kill alone definitely stands on its own. So that is the mix done. Now let's move on to the bad, which I only have like 4. And the first one, probably my biggest negative of the movie, honestly. And I was so after this movie was over, I was just watching other people's reviews to see if I missed any negatives. Possibly that usually helps me out with my movie reviews a little bit if I didn't like that part, possibly. But one that immediately popped in my head while watching this movie is the 90s aesthetic. To me, it does not look like the 90s at all. For me, it looks more
similar to the 80s instead. You still get your references to the 90s in here, but still it doesn't work.
I also do think some of the dialogue at times isn't the best. Don't get me wrong, it's not like the worst dialogue in the world, but still there's moments where I went, who wrote that? Why would you write that in that? But it's fine. Character decisions in here, which probably this would have been in the mixed aspects, but I have it in the negatives because it does bug me sometimes while watching horror movies like this one, where you have characters doing dumb decisions in a horror movie, which I get why you have it in the film to further your plot and further your story. However, still, come on, you could have made them a little less stupider. Well, stupider, that's not really a word, but whatever, you get it! As for the final negative of the film, the realism, there's one particular scene in the beginning of the movie where it's a bus chase or whatever, and the bus driver doesn't stop the bus with, everyone in it just going crazy for some reason. He just continues driving like, honk, honk, and still driving it. And like, he doesn't even... Why did I do the honk honk? No, that doesn't have the honk honk. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going off track here, folks. But anyways, other than that, that is my review done. Now let's bring out the toxic meat. And I'm gonna give this a Toxic Goodness, a B plus. I thought this was actually quite solid. B plus or B? Yeah, B plus. I'm fine with giving it a B plus. It was a solid, entertaining time. I'm definitely intrigued how the second one's gonna turn out. Because they have some at the end of this film. They tease some like camp, whatchamacallit? Some camp vibes, so similar to Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, etc., etc. So that kind of piqued my interest, so it made me a little excited for this film. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's just my thoughts on Fear Street 1994. Be sure to let me know your thoughts of the film down below and your excitement level for Fear Street Prom Queen. But with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next time, everybody. Peace.